You all liked my last massage video so well, so I thought I would do a video on horse stretches today that really work to relieve stress in your horse's body. Before we start stretching, just a few things to note. You always want to stretch muscles that have been warmed up, so I've gone ahead and lunged Tucker around a little bit just to get his muscles warm and loose. With these stretches today, it's not so much how far I can extend the muscle without the horse fighting me. These stretches specifically are for relieving stress in your horse's body and tension in their body. So with this, I'm really going to be holding these stretches for 15 seconds, between 15 and 20 seconds, and then releasing, and that's going to give the horse a big release in their body. And we're probably going to see the same signs of release that you would see with the massage, so like chewing and licking and yawning and even farting. So we're going to watch those things as we do those stretches. So I recommend having a second person with you to do these stretches so they can hold your horse, or you can loop your lead rope, but I would recommend looping it instead of tying a quick release knot or something. That way, if the horse has to escape the stretch and they back up, they're not going to catch themselves and potentially injure themselves. So just keep that in mind. So if you do need to tie your horse, I recommend looping it more like that. And so if they were to pull back, it does have some give. Just because with stretching, sometimes the horse will pull back to escape the pressure of the stretch. And so you just want to make sure your horse isn't going to get caught to where maybe they jump forward and hurt you or hurt themselves. Always do something where it does have some give. So with this, it's not going to completely get pulled out so the horse can run away, but it will give if they pull back. So our first stretch, this may not seem like a stretch, but I like to consider it as one. So horses carry a lot of tension in their jaws. Just like humans, if a horse gets stressed, they tend to clench their jaws. Another thing is they're carrying a bit around in their mouth, so that just naturally will cause them to clench their jaws more than usual. So this stretch may gross you out initially a little bit. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my hand and put it on my horse's top lip, and as you can see here, my hand is in the horse's mouth. And I'm going to walk you through what exactly this does. So when I put my hand in there, I'm cupping the horse's gum like this so they can kind of rest their top jaw against my hand. And while they do that, you may notice him moving his mouth around. So by resting his top jaw on my hand, he can actually freely move his bottom jaw. So that just allows him to stretch and relieve tension that he may have in his jaw. Once again, I'm sticking my hand up on that top gum, so above his teeth, so he can't bite me. And a lot of horses will even just kind of lean against it, or they may chew and move their bottom jaw around. But either way, this may sound weird. If you've ever taken and massaged your own gums with your fingers, it is relaxing. So this will feel good to your horse either way. Your horse may initially be weirded out by this a little bit. So one thing I recommend is if you stick your finger in the side of your horse's mouth, above your horse's front teeth, and just hold it there, that can help them get used to that feeling. And then you can eventually stick your hand in there. But I would recommend going above the top teeth and just kind of holding your fingers, and eventually they should let you put your hand in there. And so we'll watch. I'm going to let him stretch against this, and then I'm going to release, and we're going to see if he shows signs of releasing tension. But we'll release. So that chew is just him readjusting his mouth probably, but we want to see signs. There more so is a release because he's stretching down. He's chewing. The next stretch we're going to do involves some treats. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a treat and I'm going to ask Tucker to stretch his neck out as far as possible. And we'll go out and then we'll also go up. And I like to consider this stretch kind of like when you wake up in the morning and you do that big stretch that just goes throughout your whole body. That's kind of like this stretch. It affects the horse's whole body and the top line and the back. So we'll see how far he can go. Out. Come on. And we'll hold. So with this, I'm putting the treat to just barely where he can reach it and try to get it so he'll hold that stretch. And then once he's held it for long enough, I will give him the treat. If you have a really big horse, you can stand on something to encourage them to stretch taller. But good thing Tucker's short too, so I can kind of just do this from standstill. There you go, big stretch. For the next stretch, I'm going to take my treat and put it right in the middle of his chest, and I can kind of beckon his head down to where he almost makes a perfect circle. Come on. Just be careful with your hands doing this. But you can see he's stretching through his neck and engaging those muscles. And this actually also stretches his pectorals, so the muscles kind of in his chest. And the next stretch we're going to do is for the pectorals, so it's all through here. So where your horse's girth goes, there's just naturally going to be more tension because it's being squeezed by that belt kind of. Also the pectorals through here. What this may look like is that I'm about to stretch the leg, but I'm not really doing that. I'm really just encouraging this area to release the tension simply by picking up the front leg and holding it, and I'm going to show you what that looks like. So if your horse has a hard time picking up their hoof for the farrier, this can be a stretch that can help with that because chances are they are tight through that girth area. So you can see the stretch through right here. That's the part I'm trying to stretch. Good boy. So the next stretch we're going to do is for the hock and also just through the hip in general. So this whole section is going to get stretched in this next exercise. The hock is this joint down here, and since it's a joint and it gets worked and it's moving a lot, horses usually will experience hock stiffness or soreness at some point in their life. So that's why it's really important to stretch these areas. This is also the hamstring back here. And so if the hamstring is tight, it's going to be hard for the rest of the leg to work in general. So for this stretch, what you can do is you can pick up your horse's leg and you're actually just going to bring it forward. So I'm going to just hover the hoof above the ground, and I want to hold this for 15 to 20 seconds. And as you do this and the more flexible your horse becomes, you can stretch the back leg further, and then I'll release. Our next stretch is for the stifle of the horse. So believe it or not, there's actually a joint right here. So the back leg of the horse, what it looks like is, here's the pelvis, hip, stifle, and then down to the hock. So you have a few different joints in here that are working. The stifle is another area where quite a few horses will deal with stiffness and soreness in their lifetime. So with this stretch, what we're going to do is I'm going to bring the back leg back and just really look to extend the stifle as far as it can go. This is also a good hock stretch as well, so it's kind of multidimensional. I personally like to stand facing forward when I do this, and I'm going to pick up the leg and bring it back as if they're getting the farrier done. So you'll see here that the stifle is extending. And if your horse has a hard time holding their feet for the farrier, it may just mean that they just have stiffness in their stifle. So this is a great exercise to do to practice that. Good boy. So as I mentioned, the stretches I showed you today are also great for just helping your horse relieve tension and stress in their body. And so if you pair these stretches with my easy massages that I did in a previous video, it can give your horse a lot of just relief from stress and tension in their body. So if you want to check out the massage video, I'll put the link in the description. Thanks so much for watching. Please be sure to subscribe if you enjoyed this video and also give us a thumbs up.